Josh O'Connell, how are you doing today?
Doing very well. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. And it's always a pleasure to have you here. We've been doing a lot of videos with you lately on slot machines because you're very knowledgeable. For anyone that doesn't know Josh, he is from knowyourslots.com. Great resource for anybody that needs to learn about slot machines. And today we're going to talk about an interesting subject. We're going to talk about how to play at a low limit betting level in the high limit room anyways, because Josh and I were just talking about this. Sometimes you have friends that play at the high limit level and you can't necessarily afford to play high limits, or sometimes people just want to hang out in the high limit room and with all the actual high rollers. So because I mean, every once in a while casinos have cool stuff. Like down here in Florida, the casinos aren't allowed to give out I don't know if they're not allowed to give out free drinks or they just choose not to, but they don't give free alcohol while you're gambling. However, if you're in the high limit room, they do.
Oh,
So I guess that could be one reason to want to hang. Another reason to want to hang out in the high limit room is to actually be able to get that free alcohol. At least that's in the Hard
yeah.
Rock in Tampa. They do that. I don't know about the one in Hollywood. I haven't
In,
spent
in more
much time in
practical
there.
terms, you also have the ability to get on a higher denomination machine than you might on the main floor. And that certainly has its benefits from a payback percentage situation where most people know that as you move up in denomination, you tend to see slightly better paybacks as you move each one up. So if you're going from a penny machine to quarters or even dollars, depending on the situation you find yourself, the overall payback should be better. And so that should give you a chance to have your money last longer.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and hop into this. I was reading you had a few articles about this on your website, so I took a few of the examples. The first one you had said was 88 drums, which is one of the Asian themed slot machines. And I'm not really a fan of 88 drums, but that's the one that goes in the sequences of eight. Like you can bet like 8 credits, 88 credits, 188
So
credits.
yeah, so there's a whole line of games starting with 88 fortunes, 5 treasures, dancing drums, double blessings, where they all have a similar betting pattern. There's actually 2 rows of buttons that you can choose from on there. The first one is the number of gold symbols you wish to play from 1 to 5. And then the second one is your line bet. So if you are in a higher limit scenario, many times these machines will be set at a dime denomination. So the absolute minimum bet you can do on these machines, believe it or not, is 80 cents. 1 gold symbol, which is 8 credits, and times your dime denomination is 80 cents. Dancing drums is my favorite of this line of games to play because it seems to have more opportunity. The thing that's really interesting is that when you go to 1 gold symbol, you lose all access to the progressive. So don't think that you're going to get that grand or even that mini, because it turns all of those off. And it also changes 4 of the 5 symbols to be lower paying. So on dancing drums, for instance, you're now playing for the coins, and the coins are stacked pretty well on the reels that you can get 50x 100x line hits just off of coins before even getting to a bonus round. And so the thing that's really nice about that is that you can, at 80 cents a spin, if you put $100 into that machine. I've done this before. I've played an hour, 2 hours on these 80-cent bets because I'll get a $40 hit, a $60 hit, an $80 hit. It just keeps you going and going. And so it's
Awesome.
certainly still a volatile machine. It is on any bet level to some degree. You're just playing a different sort of game at that bet level. And so for those who are trying not to spend that much, I mean, this is, in our last video, we talked about like $1 to $2. This is below that, right? 80 cents is even lower. This can definitely keep you going for a long time while if you're hanging out with friends in the high limit room.
Now, the next one is the multi-denomination games, and one of them that you had mentioned was Ultimate Firelink. And like you said, our last video, we were talking about good slot machines in the $1 to $2 a bet level. And I found one of these machines it was in the high limit room, and we have a video on that where I was playing. It was Ultimate Firelink. It was 10 cent, and the minimum bet was $2 because I guess you'll know this better, but I believe what you said is on the penny version, it has 40 pay lines. And then once you get up to nickel and dime, I believe it drops to 20, which is where
20.
where that $2 for 20 coins, 20 dimes is $2. So where that bet came from.
Right.
Now,
Yeah,
one thing I wanted to preface this with is I think there's 2 versions of it, because when I went into the high limit room, they had a bank of like 5 or 6 of them, and you could only bet the $2 on every other one, and then whatever the ones in between those were set. I think it was like a $5 or $6. Maybe it was $4. Maybe it was this dimes with the full 40 pay lines, but I know there was half the machines you could not bet $2. You had to bet more on.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, the game is certainly configurable by the casino, and so they can choose what denominations. I've seen examples where they only have the penny denomination turned on, for instance. So it really is up to the casino. I found a similar scenario to you where I found, but it was nickels instead of dimes. So it was a dollar spin in the high limit room. So it was either
Oh, even
nickels or
better.
dollars. So you had one or the other. And of course, I'm going to play nickels. But yeah, so like, many times with multi-denomination machines, you might find a lower setting. Another great example of one that has multi-denomination is there's these multi-win 7 machines by Ainsworth, for instance, where they have multiple games, but also multiple line choices and multiple denominations. And so usually you'll see them with 5, 10, or 20 lines. So you can choose how many lines, but they also have like quarter, 50-cent, and dollar denomination. So the minimum bet's $1.25 a spin, 5 lines, quarters. Of course, you could do $60 a spin on dollars if you do like a ×3 line bet. So you can get up there in the high limit room, but these machines also have a lower bet that certainly is affordable, and again on a higher denomination. So therefore, you're getting the benefit of those higher payback percentages on a quarter machine versus a penny.
Yeah, the only thing I should point out, at least with the Ultimate Firelink, because that's the only one I'm familiar with, is I said this in the video. It's a double-edged sword. While you're getting a higher bet, you're betting nickels or dimes instead of pennies. Your mini and minor jackpots are going to be either 5 or 10 times higher. That's the good news. The bad news is it's going to be a bit streakier because, like I said, you got half the pay line. So it takes out a lot of the like super ziggy zaggy ones that are like way up and down. It's like bottom top, bottom top, bottom top. It takes out some of those ones. So you have less shots at winning your money back. You only got 20 shots at it instead of 40.
Right.
So I want to put that out there. Some people may like it less volatile, where they can get a lot of lower hits, or some people might like a little bit higher volatility like this, where you've got less pay lines, so you're going to have less winning spins. However, your spins are generally going to be worth a lot more when you do win.
Exactly. And the other thing to keep in mind too, in that vein, is that when the mini and minor jump by 5 times, they're certainly not going to be as easy to win as those $15 ones on pennies, right? So you probably won't see them come out as often, but when they do, you're going to win a lot more, right? So that adds to the volatility of the game, because when you do win them, you're going to probably have a better session than when you don't.
Now, the next one I wanted to talk about was single line games, the single line, single reel, not single reel, 1 pay line, 3 reels.
Right.
That'd be weird. It was single reel machine. Single line games where they have, because generally they'll have you bet 1 coin, you bet 2 coins, it pays double, 3 coins pays triple. Sometimes they'll give a little bit of a bonus for that top award, and they'll entice you to bet the 3 coins by paying you a little bit extra. But sometimes it's not really enough to make it worth it, and that's the ones that you were talking about to play at single coin.
Right. So one of the things you can do, and the nice thing about these machines is many times the pay tables are literally right above the reels on glass, right? So you can see exactly what the payouts of each are. So a great example of a game that I usually point out is Double Diamond, which is one that you probably find in any casino in the United States practically. And with Double Diamond, your first coin pays you, whatever it pays. The second coin will pay double, and presuming there's a third coin, because there's not always, everything will pay triple except for that top payout, which is 100 credit premium over the rest. So it's like 800, 1600, 2500. Well, getting that top payout is going to be difficult, and getting it with 100 less credits versus is not a huge differential in terms of the game's overall payout. And that's assuming it's set up that way. I've seen examples where it's just triple and there's no premium, right? So in those cases, you can reasonably negotiate with yourself and say, you know what, I'll play 1 credit because I'm not losing out on that much. And if it's a dollar machine, it's just a dollar spin at that point, right? So there are definitely games where I don't recommend that, where it jumps like double or triple or and some things like that. So you are leaving more money on the table, and you don't want to leave that risk. But in cases where it's not that much of a differential, you probably can get away with playing the single coin in the high limit room. And so for that $1 a spin, you're getting pretty much almost the full payout of that game.
Yeah, and in case you missed that, so what he's saying is the $100 premium for the max payout. It's for 1 coin bets 800, 2 coins pays 16, 3 coins would normally be 2,400, but they give you a little bonus of make it 2,500. So if you're playing a dollar machine, that's an extra $100 there. So you miss out on $100. It's not the end of the world, but like if you were playing that, say it was instead of 2,400, it paid like 5 or 6,000, as this third coin. If you hit that only betting one coin, you'd be kicking yourself, saying, "Oh man, why did I should have been betting the 3 coins." Same thing is like I've heard people playing megabucks that don't bet the max and then have hit the megabucks where it would have been like $15 million, and instead they won like $500.
Brutal. But
Yeah.
it's also important. I think this is the right time to say one reason why these topics are important is because not everybody has a high limit budget, right? So if you have a couple $100, right, going into the high limit room and doing $3 a spin doesn't give you that many button presses to make something happen. And so, part of the reason why you're willing to take that slight cut in the pay by betting one credit is because you're going to get 3 times as many opportunities to make something happen on that machine, right? And so the reason why, so you're always balancing like what's good for your budget and the bankroll that you have for that session with what's available. And so, that slight trade-off is probably worth it for those with a smaller budget because they can keep playing.
Yeah, and now the last one is I feel like is sort of become less popular recently, but those are the buy a pay machines where you only bet one credit. It like really only unlocks like the first third of the symbols to win. The second coin unlocks a bit more higher up on the pay table, and then the third coin unlocks there's 2 versions. The third coin unlocks even more, like the very top end of the pay table. And these ones I wouldn't really suggest playing. But the example you had used on your website in that article is Blazing Sevens, where the first coin unlocks like the first half of the pay table. The second coin unlocks the second top half of the higher paying symbols, and then the third coin you just get a progressive. And of course, it depends where the progressive's at. If it's because it'll say, what was the example that was on your I can't remember off the top of my head.
With the Blazing Sevens example, so I've seen this like game in a 50-cent denomination, for instance, which is actually the photo that I used in my article. So for 50 cents, you get sort of the bars. For $1, you get the sevens, and then for $1.50, the sevens pays increases. So second credit for sevens makes sense. But then there's the progressive, and so the progressive started at $700. And the second coin got you a $350 win. So it's basically double. And so the only thing you're really missing out on with that increment is whatever the progressive increment was, which at the time I saw it was like $60, right? So if you're willing to give up, that extra $60, but you don't have to spend that third coin, you're now playing a dollar spin machine, right? So it's again, sometimes the progressives are built up so much that it would be very silly not to go after that progressive. But if it had just hit, the differential is so small, you're not missing out on that much. And so part of that's just looking at the machine, understanding where it is in its sort of its life, and is it the right time to bet for that progressive or not?
And did you have those were the only examples that I had thought of? Did you have any other examples that you wanted to throw in here? Or
I think more generally, when you look at, so many people know high limit rooms tend to be more streamlined in the options that they have. You don't have the same selection that you do on the main floor for obvious reasons. The high limit room is always a smaller room, but there's usually some sort of video slots in there. And we gave the Ainsworth example, but like maybe there'll be old IGT machines and there'll be different line counts that are available there, like 1 line, 5 lines, 9 lines. So to your point earlier, you are playing in a more volatile state because you don't have as many ways to win. But again, you're playing at a higher denomination. So when you do win on those line hits, you're going to tend to get paid better. But you can find, plenty of examples of video slot machines. Maybe they're quarters and you can do 10 lines for $2.50 or 5 lines for $1.25. And so those types of examples give you the ability to play, a video slot, at a bet that you can afford. And again, you're taking advantage of that higher payback percentage over maybe the penny version on the floor. You don't have as many lines to hit, but you do get paid better on that denomination. So video slots in general, especially the older ones, which tend to be found in high limit more often than not, are going to give you that opportunity. So being able to lower your line count is another easy way to sort of bring the bets down to your level.
Yeah, I think two of the machines that come to mind when you mention that are the Bombay and the Stinkin' Rich.
Yeah.
Where you can go up to what is it? I think 100 lines, but you can also do like 75, 50, 25, and then 10 and 5 or something like that. So there's a lot of leeway in there.
Yeah, and even more traditional games like Cleopatra, which has a 20-line max, there's usually like a 9-line button and a 5-line button. So you can also just lower your line count on a more traditional video slot like that too.
All right, so Josh, thank you for coming on today and sharing these great tips here for how people can still get into the high limit room and not have to bet at the high limit denomination. So like I said, if you want to just hang out in the high limit room, they generally the chairs are more comfortable, the machines are in better condition because you don't have as many people getting angry and banging on them and spilling drinks all over them. You want a bit of a different experience in the casino. You should head on to the high limit room and see if you can find some of these games. And Josh, if people want to learn more about you and your work, where can they go do that?
So my website is knowyourslots.com. I publish new content every single day. And I also have social media, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Know Your Slots is all one word.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Josh, very much.
Have a great day.
You too.